Black, just water, just heartbeat, just the sound of oxygen leaving your body one molecule at a time. 48 seconds. That's how long he choked her. 47 seconds longer than most people can hold their breath while being strangled underwater. She didn't panic, didn't thrash, didn't fight. She waited. Because Navy SEALs don't drown. They calculate. The water was cold. Virginia Beach cold. The kind that makes your chest want to seize even before someone wraps both hands around your throat. Blue LED strips pulsed beneath the surface like veins of electric light. They were supposed to make the training pool look modern, cutting edge. Instead, they made it look like something from the deep ocean. Something prehistoric and patient. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Cross hung suspended in that blue darkness. 32 years old, 5'9", 140 pounds of muscle and scar tissue wrapped around a damaged lung and a spine made of pure stubbornness. Her black wetsuit blended with the shadows. Only her face was visible in the monitor feed. Calm, eyes open, pupils slightly dilated but focused. Behind her, Corporal Derek Hollis's hands locked around her throat. Both hands. Full combat choke. Not the training hold he was supposed to use. Not the demonstration grip for teaching purposes. This was real. His fingers dug into her carotid arteries. Thumbs pressed against her windpipe. The medical monitor on the pool deck showed his heart rate spiking. 98 beats per minute, then 104, then 112. Sarah's heart rate dropped. 72, then 68, then 58. Master Chief Daniel Cross stood in the observation gallery above the pool. 69 years old. Gray hair buzzed, military short, a Rolex Submariner on his wrist, steel and black, issued in 1985 when watches were tools and men didn't need computers on their arms. His jaw was tight. His hands gripped the railing. But he didn't move. Didn't call the drill. Didn't hit the emergency stop. He just watched the monitor. Watched Sarah's vitals. Watched her training kick in exactly the way he'd taught her. 40 seconds. Hollis's eyes were wild behind his dive mask. Confused. Terrified. Why wasn't she fighting? Why wasn't she clawing at his hands? Why wasn't she surfacing in panic like every other person he had ever choked underwater? 44 seconds. Sarah's heart rate hit 42 beats per minute. Bradycardia, the mammalian diving reflex in full effect. Her body redirecting blood flow away from her extremities, conserving every molecule of oxygen for her brain and core. Her damaged left lung, the one that had collapsed under Afghan shrapnel 14 months ago, held at 67% capacity. But 67% of disciplined control beats 100% of panicked thrashing every single time. 48 seconds, she moved. One hand, precise, surgical. Her fingers found the anatomical weakness in Hollis's left wrist. The space between radius and ulna where ligaments connect at angles that can't handle rotational torque. She planted her right foot against the pool bottom. Generated leverage from her core. Twisted. The sound carried through the water. A wet pop like a branch snapping underwater. Hollis's scream came out as bubbles. He released her throat. Tried to surface. Couldn't coordinate his kicks. His left wrist hung at an angle that made the medical observer turn away. Sarah rose 5 seconds later. Calm. Controlled. Water streaming from her face. She pulled off her dive mask. Took one breath. Then another. Her pupils were dilated, but her hands were steady. Hollis broke the surface, gasping, sputtering, cradling his wrist against his chest. She broke it, he choked out. She attacked me. Sarah's voice was quiet, matter of fact, the kind of tone you use when reciting technical specifications. You initiated unauthorized physical contact during a no-contact breath hold drill, Corporal. Per the waiver you signed, I responded with lawful self-defense, joint manipulation. The medical log will show you grabbed my throat at second 36. I responded at second 48. 12 seconds of restraint before counteraction. Textbook SEAL protocol. Captain Richard Dawson watched from the far end of the gallery. 56 years old, silver hair, 28 years of service, naval intelligence background. Berlin 1985 to 1989, when the wall still stood and the Cold War still had teeth. His face showed nothing, but his jaw muscles flexed. Once, twice. Cross saw it. Sarah saw it too. To understand why she let Corporal Hollis choke her for 48 seconds, you need to know what happened 14 months earlier, in Afghanistan, when someone tried to kill her the first time. The night sky over Kandahar held more stars than seemed possible. No light pollution this far from the cities. No glow on the horizon, just darkness and dust and the kind of cold that makes your bones ache even through tactical gear. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Cross moved through that darkness like she was born to it. 6 operators behind her, all SEAL Team 3, all carrying HK-416 rifles with AAC suppressors that turned gunfire into whispered coughs, all wearing AN/PVS-31 night vision goggles, Generation 3+, that painted the world in shades of green and gray. The target compound sat 12 kilometers from the Pakistani border. Mud brick walls, flat roof, 2 guards visible on thermal, high-value Taliban commander inside. The kind of target that justified sending a SEAL team into disputed territory at 00:300 on a moonless night. Sarah's position was Overwatch, 847 meters from the compound. Elevated ridge, M110 semi-automatic sniper rifle. She'd done the calculations 3 times. Wind speed 12 miles per hour from the northwest. Temperature 38 degrees Fahrenheit dropping. Humidity 42%. All of it affected bullet trajectory. All of it mattered when you were putting a 7.62 NATO round through a target the size of a playing card. She adjusted her scope. 2 minutes of angle right, 1.5 MOA up. Her spotter chief petty officer Marcus Webb lay beside her, 35 years old. Logistics specialist with an intelligence background. Iraq 2007 through 2009. Afghanistan 2012 through 2014. He'd been with her on 4 previous operations. Reliable, calm, the kind of operator who never got rattled. Overwatch clear, Sarah whispered into her radio. Entry team set, came the response. Breach in 3, 2, 1. The door charge was small, precise, enough to blow the lock without collapsing the wall. The entry team moved like water. 4 minutes later, it was over. Target neutralized, intelligence gathered, time to extract. The helicopter was inbound, a MH-60 Black Hawk call sign Razor 3, landing zone marked with infrared strobes that only showed through night vision. Sarah broke down her rifle, moved toward the LZ with her team. Everything textbook, everything perfect. Until the RPG came from a sector they'd cleared 20 minutes earlier. The rocket-propelled grenade screamed out of darkness, not aimed at the helicopter, aimed at the SEAL team on the ground. At Sarah specifically. She saw it coming, had maybe 2 seconds, enough time to push Chief Webb sideways, enough time to dive away from the impact point, not enough time to avoid the shrapnel. The explosion was white light and pressure and the sensation of being hit by a car. Sarah felt something punch through her chest, felt her left lung collapse, felt her blood pressure drop like someone had opened a drain in her body. She hit the ground. Couldn't breathe. The medic was there in seconds. Combat medical specialist, 50-something, with grizzled gray hair and hands that had kept people alive in worse situations. He cut open her tactical vest, saw the sucking chest wound, saw her lung collapsing in real time. Tension pneumothorax, he said. Stay with me, Commander. Sarah's vision was narrowing, tunneling down to a pinpoint. She could hear radio traffic but couldn't process it. Heard someone calling for immediate evacuation. Heard the helicopter landing despite the ongoing fire. Through the morphine haze and oxygen deprivation, she heard something else. A radio transmission. Encrypted channel. A voice she almost recognized. Viper 6 package delivered. Her father's face flashed through her mind. Commander James Cross. Dead in 2006. Fallujah, Iraq. Training accident, they'd called it. Equipment malfunctioned during a live fire exercise. Sarah had never believed it. The medic leaned close while he worked to stabilize her lung. His voice was low, urgent. Stay with me, ma'am. Stay with me. Sarah's lips moved, barely a whisper. My father, Commander James Cross. Training accident, 06. The medic's hands paused, just for a fraction of a second. His eyes met hers. I was there in 06, ma'am. That wasn't an accident. Then Sarah's world went black. The Naval Special Warfare Training Center smelled like chlorine and old paint, and the particular kind of sweat that comes from pushing human bodies past their designed limitations. Sarah walked through it with a compression sleeve on her left arm and an armband that read, "Limited duty, no combat operations." Her lung capacity was 67% of normal. For a civilian, that would be manageable. For a Navy SEAL, it was a death sentence. The minimum standard for combat dive qualification was 95%. Sarah couldn't hit 80 on her best day, so they'd given her a desk, made her a rehabilitation training officer, put her in charge of overseeing recovery drills for injured operators. It was a polite way of saying she was being retired without actually processing the paperwork. The younger SEALs whispered when they thought she couldn't hear. "That's Cross, the one who got her team ambushed in Kandahar." Heard she hesitated, got caught in the open. 67% lung capacity. She's done. Sarah logged who said it, logged their names and faces, said nothing, just adjusted her compression sleeve and kept walking. The rehabilitation pool was in the east wing, 50 meters long, temperature controlled to 78 degrees. Blue LED strips along the bottom that pulsed with the filtration system. Medical monitoring equipment on the deck. Everything designed to look modern and professional, and like this was where operators came to get better, not where they came to die slowly. Master Chief Daniel Cross was already there. He stood at the edge of the pool with his hands behind his back. Military posture even in civilian contractor clothes. Gray hair buzzed short, deeply tanned skin that spoke of decades in the sun. A Rolex Submariner on his left wrist, steel and black, the kind issued to SEALs in 1985 when men wore tools, not computers. "You carry yourself like you're still operational, Commander," he said without turning around. Sarah stopped 3 paces behind him. "Medical says otherwise, Master Chief." "Medical cleared me in 91 with 40% lung capacity. I did 12 more years." He turned to face her. 69 years old, clear blue eyes that had seen Grenada and Panama and Desert Storm and things that didn't make it into official records. There were scars on his hands, shrapnel scars, burn scars, the kind you get from being in rooms when they explode. "You don't know me," Sarah said. "I trained your father, Commander James Cross. I was there when he taught you to hold your breath. You were 8 years old, Olympic-sized pool in San Diego. He told you SEALs don't panic. We calculate." Sarah's chest tightened, not from lung damage, from something older and deeper. "How do you know that?" Cross stepped closer. His voice dropped. Not a whisper, just the tone you use when sharing classified information in an unsecure location. "Because your father asked me to watch over you if anything happened to him. 28 years ago, I made a promise. I keep promises." He died in '06, Fallujah, training accident. That's what the report said. "You're saying it wasn't?" Cross pulled out his phone, showed her a photograph. A woman in her mid-40s, sharp eyes, army uniform, major's rank insignia. "My daughter, Catherine Cross, Army Intelligence retired. She spent 6 years tracking something called Viper 6, a call sign that's appeared in radio intercepts going back to 1985. Berlin, Desert Storm, Somalia, Iraq, Afghanistan, Kandahar." Sarah's breath caught. "Kandahar, someone called that sign during my extraction." "Catherine says your Kandahar leak matches 11 others. All the same pattern, all covered up, all investigated by the same officer over 40 years. Who?" Cross glanced toward the observation gallery. Captain Dawson was there, watching, always watching. Someone who was in Berlin during the Cold War, someone who had access to Soviet intelligence networks, someone who's been liquidating Soviet weapon caches since the wall fell, selling them, killing anyone who gets too close to finding out. Sarah followed his gaze, saw Dawson, saw the way the captain's hand rested on the railing, casual, controlled. "You think Dawson is Viper 6. I think your father found Soviet weapons in Fallujah in '06, weapons that were newer than they should have been. I think he started asking questions. I think Dawson made sure he stopped." The pool water lapped against the tiles, steady, rhythmic, the sound of water that never stops moving. Sarah's voice was quiet, controlled, the same tone she'd used 48 seconds into a chokehold. "What do you need me to do?" Corporal Derek Hollis arrived at the training center the way he did everything. Loud, entitled, with the kind of swagger that comes from never having been truly tested. 28 years old, Bud's candidate, third time through the program. Failed the first 2 times on Hell Week. This time he was determined to prove all the instructors wrong. He saw Sarah by the pool and grinned. "Inhaler girl," he called out, loud enough for the other candidates to hear. "They got you training basic breath holds now. What's next? Teaching kindergartners how to float." Sarah made a note on her clipboard, logged his posture, poor stance, weight too far forward, overcompensating. Hollis moved closer, splashed water near her boots. "Heard you got 67% lung capacity. That's what barely enough to blow out birthday candles." Cross was across the pool, watching. He taught Sarah to control her breathing when she was 20 years old. Taught her that the first person to lose composure was the first person to lose. Period. Sarah's voice was level, professional. "Corporal Hollis, you're scheduled for partner drills at 1400. Make sure you read the safety protocols." "Safety protocols?" Hollis laughed. "I don't need safety protocols for basic pool work." He had a tattoo on his left wrist. Small, Cyrillic letters. Spetsnaz. Russian for Spetsnaz. Russian Special Forces. Cross noticed it the same time Sarah did. Later, after Hollis left, Cross stood beside her at the pool's edge. "That tattoo," he said. "Why does a Bud's candidate have Russian Special Forces ink? Maybe he's got Russian heritage. Maybe, or maybe someone sent him here specifically to harass you, to make you react, to build a case that you're unstable, violent, unfit for duty." Sarah watched the water, watched the LED lights pulse beneath the surface. Same playbook they used on my father. Exactly the same. 6 weeks of harassment. Hollis made it his personal mission. He'd shove past Sarah during formation, splash water during pool drills, make loud comments about collapsed lungs and medical discharges. He'd grab her shoulder during partner exercises. Not hard enough to officially complain about, just hard enough to remind her that he was bigger, younger, stronger. The other candidates watched. Some looked uncomfortable. None intervened. Petty Officer Marcus Webb started showing up to every session. The same Webb who'd been Sarah's spotter in Kandahar. He'd approach her after each incident. "Commander, I'm documenting all this. Say the word and I'll file a formal complaint. We can get him kicked out." Sarah always said no. Cross understood why. "You're using Hollis as bait, waiting to see who he reports to." "Webb's always there," Sarah said. "Always watching, always offering to help. It's too convenient." "You think Webb is working for Dawson?" "I think Webb was intelligence liaison in Kandahar. I think he had access to our radio frequencies. I think Viper 6 package delivered might have come from someone on our own team." Cross showed her financial records, illegally obtained through Catherine's Army intelligence contacts. Hollis's bank account showed a $5,000 deposit 6 weeks ago, traced to a shell company. Balkan Exports Limited, registered in the Cayman Islands in 1987. "That's old KGB front," Cross said. "They laundered money through there during the Soviet-Afghan War." The pieces were coming together, slowly, carefully. Then Hollis made his challenge public. The mess hall was crowded, lunch rush, 100 voices mixing into white noise. Hollis stood up at his table, loud, theatrical. "Hey, Cross," he shouted across the room, "I got a proposal for you." The conversations died. Everyone turned to watch. "Tomorrow, pool, underwater breath hold, you and me. If you can outlast me, I'll salute your rank in front of everyone here. But when you black out first, you admit you're washed up, and you leave this base." Some of the younger SEALs looked uncomfortable. This was crossing a line, even for Hollis. Sarah sat at a back table, personnel files spread in front of her. She looked up, met Hollis's eyes, pulled a competition waiver from her stack of papers, walked it over to his table, set it down in front of him. "Sign it," she said. Hollis grinned, grabbed a pen, signed without reading. He didn't see Clause 4.2, the one that authorized lawful self-defense measures in response to unauthorized physical contact during training exercises. Sarah took the form back, logged it, filed it, Cross found her later in the equipment room. You're using him to expose whoever sent him, Cross said. But what if Dawson doesn't take the bait? What if he just lets Hollis lose and walks away? Sarah pulled out her phone, showed Cross an email sent from Catherine that morning. Evidence uploads at 0800 tomorrow. Financial records, radio intercepts, 40 years of weapons sales traced back to Dawson. It'll hit the DOD Inspector General's office. He'll know we're coming for him. And when he knows, he'll either run or eliminate the threat. Either way, he has to respond. The pool competition isn't about beating Hollis. It's about watching Dawson's reaction. Cross studied her face, saw his own training reflected back, saw her father's patience, saw something else too, something harder. Your father would be proud, he said. My father's dead because of Dawson. Then let's make sure his death meant something. That night, Cross took Sarah to the pool after hours, empty, dark except for the LED strips. He taught her the same way he'd taught her at Bud's 12 years ago. Breath control isn't about your lungs, he said. It's about your mind. Panic uses oxygen faster than swimming. Fear burns through your reserves. But calculation, patience, control, those conserve everything. Sarah descended into the water, let herself sink. Cross watched from the deck with a stopwatch. 62 seconds. She surfaced. Again. 71 seconds. Again. 83 seconds. Cross nodded. You'll never hit 95% capacity again, but you don't need to. Hollis has 100% lung capacity, but he has 0% discipline. You know what beats raw capacity every time? Control. And patience. He'll panic. When he does, he'll make a mistake, and you'll be ready. Sarah floated on her back, stared at the ceiling, at the fluorescent lights that flickered slightly out of sync. What if I can't do it? You won't beat him in a fair fight. But SEALs don't fight fair. We calculate. We adapt. We wait for the exact right moment. Then we strike. Cross's phone buzzed. Text from Catherine. Evidence uploaded. Dawson will receive notification at 0800. By the time your competition starts at 0900, he'll know we have everything. Sarah checked her own phone. 0130. 7.5 hours until the trap closed. Get some sleep, Cross said. Tomorrow we find out if 40 years of hunting was worth it. But neither of them slept. Dawn light filtered through the high windows, cold, gray, the kind of morning that felt like the world was holding its breath. The pool deck was prepared, medical monitoring equipment, cameras for documentation, safety protocols posted on the wall. Petty Officer Webb at the monitoring station logging equipment checks. Cross stood in the observation gallery, alone, waiting. Captain Dawson arrived at 0850, 10 minutes before the scheduled start. He took position beside Cross, didn't acknowledge him, just stared down at the pool. Didn't know you were still around, Master Chief, Dawson finally said. Still here, still watching. Watching what? History repeating itself. Same pattern, same playbook, different victim. Dawson's jaw tightened, barely perceptible. I don't know what you're talking about. You will, in about 10 minutes. Sarah arrived at 0855. Black wetsuit, stopwatch on a lanyard, hair pulled back tight. She moved with economy. No wasted motion, no nervous energy, just controlled, deliberate precision. Hollis arrived at 0900 exactly. Half-zipped wetsuit, flexing for the cameras. Grinning at the other candidates who'd gathered to watch. Webb read the rules, no contact, pure breath hold. First to surface loses. Medical override if vitals hit critical. Sarah and Hollis shook hands. His grip was tight, trying to intimidate. She matched his pressure exactly. No more, no less. They entered the water. The LED strips pulsed blue beneath them. Cross watched the monitor. Watched their heart rates. Sarah's was 72, steady. Hollis's was 88, already elevated. They descended together. Sarah went perfectly still, suspended in the blue darkness. Her heart rate dropped. 72, then 68, then 58. Hollis kicked, adjusted position. Watched her with growing confusion. 42 beats per minute. Cross whispered to Dawson. Bradycardia, classic SEAL conditioning. She's redirecting blood flow, conserving oxygen to core organs. I taught her that when she was 20. Dawson didn't respond, but his hand gripped the railing tighter. 20 seconds. Hollis's heart rate climbed. 92, 98, 104. Sarah's dropped to 40. 30 seconds. Webb's voice over the intercom. Both vitals stable. Continuing. 36 seconds. Hollis made his decision. He lunged. Both hands locked around Sarah's throat from behind. Full combat choke. Thumbs on windpipe. Fingers on carotids. The kind of hold designed to cut blood flows to the brain. The kind that can kill if held long enough. Sarah didn't move. Cross stood up straight, ready to intervene. Dawson reached for the emergency stop. Pull her out. She'll die. Cross blocked his hand. Watch her vitals. She's fine. The monitor showed Sarah's heart rate dropping further. 40, then 38, then 36. That's not possible, Dawson said. I've seen SEALs hold 3 minutes under combat stress. She's not drowning, she's calculating. 40 seconds. Hollis squeezed harder. His own heart rate spiked to 116. Panic setting in. Why wasn't she fighting? Why wasn't she clawing at his hands? Why wasn't she doing anything? 44 seconds. His grip faltered, just slightly. Confusion breaking through training. 48 seconds. Sarah moved. Her right hand snapped to Hollis's left wrist, found the anatomical weakness between radius and ulna. Her left foot planted against the pool bottom, generated rotational torque from her core. Her damaged lung held at 67% capacity, but her technique was 100% perfect. The joint manipulation was surgical. The wrist dislocated with a sound like a branch snapping. Hollis released her, surfaced gasping, screaming, cradling his arm. Sarah rose 5 seconds later, calm, controlled. She pulled off her dive mask, took one measured breath, then another. Medical staff rushed to Hollis. He was sobbing, trying to explain. She broke it. She attacked me. Sarah's voice carried across the pool deck. Level. Professional. The voice of someone reciting technical specifications. You initiated unauthorized physical contact at second 36. I responded at second 48 with lawful self-defense joint manipulation per the waiver you signed. 12 seconds of restraint before counteraction. The medical log will verify timing, all actions within established SEAL defensive protocols. Webb pulled up the video, showed Hollis grabbing her throat, showed Sarah's complete lack of resistance for 12 full seconds, showed her precise minimal response. Dawson's face was stone. Sarah walked past him, dripping water, breathing steady despite 67% lung capacity. She stopped, met his eyes. Evidence uploaded at 0800 this morning, Captain. Catherine Cross sends her regards. Dawson's jaw muscles flexed. Cross stepped beside Sarah. My daughter, Army Intelligence. She's been tracking Viper 6 for 6 years. Funny how the investigation kept leading back to you. I don't know what you think you found, Dawson said. Sarah's smile was cold. We'll discuss it at 1400. Your office. Formal inquiry. Dawson recovered his composure, nodded once. I'll be there. He left the pool deck without another word. Webb was typing rapidly on his tablet, logging the incident, recording everything. Cross watched him, watched the way Webb's fingers moved, watched him send a message on his phone while pretending to document the medical report. Webb just texted someone, Cross said quietly. Sarah nodded. Dawson, telling him everything that just happened. So the trap is set. The trap was always set. We're just waiting to see who walks into it. On the other side of the facility in his private office, Captain Richard Dawson stared at his phone, at the encrypted message from the DoD Inspector General's office, at the evidence that had arrived in their system at 0800 that morning. 40 years of weapon sales, shell companies, radio intercepts, financial transactions, all traced back to him. He made a phone call, encrypted line, voice low. Webb, they have Catherine's evidence. How much does she know? Everything. Berlin. Desert Storm. Kandahar. The caches. Then we move to final contingency. Cross doesn't leave the base alive. Make it look natural. Heart condition. He's 69. It happens. He ended the call, stared at the photo on his desk. his wife, Ukrainian heritage, family that had fled when the Soviet Union collapsed, family that had contacts, resources, networks that didn't officially exist anymore. 40 years he'd been selling Soviet weapons. 40 years of liquidating Cold War assets that would have rotted in bunkers otherwise. 40 years of making sure American contractors got rich off the peace dividend. And now two investigators, in one broken seal with a damaged lung, thought they could bring him down. Dawson opened his desk drawer, pulled out a Sig Sauer M18, checked the magazine. 15 rounds. The 1400 meeting wasn't going to be in his office. It was going to be in the CQB training facility, where accidents happened, where two people could die and everyone would believe it was equipment failure training gone wrong. Tragic, but explicable. He texted Webb. Change meeting location, CQB House 3. Tell them it's more private. Webb responded immediately. Understood. Dawson looked at his watch. 5 hours until the meeting. 5 hours to prepare a kill box. 5 hours to eliminate the last people who knew the truth. He had no idea that Master Chief Daniel Cross had been preparing for this moment for 34 years. Had no idea that Sarah Cross had spent 14 months training for exactly this scenario. Had no idea that the real trap wasn't the meeting. The real trap was making him think he was in control. When everything from the pool competition to the evidence upload to the change meeting location had been calculated, planned, expected. Because Navy SEALs don't panic. They calculate. And 48 seconds of patience can hide 40 years of planning. The water in the pool kept lapping against the tiles. Steady, rhythmic, patient, waiting for the moment to strike. 1,000 hours. Captain Dawson's office. 3rd floor of the command building with windows that overlooked the entire training facility. From here, you could see everything. The pool where Sarah had broken Hollis's wrist. The CQB training houses where accidents happened. The beach beyond where bodies could wash up and everyone would call it drowning during unauthorized night swimming. Control. That's what the office represented. 40 years of maintaining control. Dawson sat behind his desk. Sarah and Cross stood at attention. Hollis's official complaint lay between them. Black and white. Video evidence attached. Medical documentation of a dislocated wrist. Looks bad on paper. Looks like excessive force. Looks like exactly what Dawson needed. Except for the waiver. Dawson held it up. Read Clause 4.2 aloud. Unauthorized physical contact during no-contact drills authorizes lawful self-defense measures, including joint manipulation. He set it down. Hollis signed this. Yes, sir, Sarah said. Without reading it, 2nd page. His signature is notarized. The video played on the monitor behind Dawson's desk. Underwater footage. Crystal clear. Hollis lunging at second 36. Sarah completely still for 12 seconds. 12 seconds of being choked while doing absolutely nothing. Then one precise movement. Clinical, surgical, the kind of technique they teach at advanced SEAL combat training. 12 seconds, Dawson said. Most people would have responded immediately. Most people panic, sir. I was taught to calculate. Dawson's eyes shifted to Cross. Master Chief, you taught her this? Yes, sir, at Buds. Same technique I learned in 1976. Same technique used by SEALs. Cross paused deliberately. Korea, World War II. It's old school. The words hung in the air. Old school. Back when things were done right. Commander Cross, Dawson said, you used excessive force against a trainee. I used proportional force against an attacker who violated training protocols. He's a corporal. You're a lieutenant commander. There's a chain of command issue here. He grabbed my throat, sir. Chain of command doesn't apply to assault. Dawson stood, walked to the window, looked out over the base. When he spoke, his voice was different, quieter, more dangerous. This will be noted in your file. Aggressive response to minor harassment, concerning pattern for someone with your injury history. Cross stepped forward, just one step, but it changed the dynamic in the room. Captain, may I speak? Dawson turned. You're a civilian contractor, Master Chief. This isn't your concern. Commander Cross is my concern. I trained her father, trained her. I know her judgment. Then you should counsel her about appropriate force levels. That wasn't aggression, sir. That was patience. She waited 48 seconds to respond. Most operators would have panicked at 15. She calculated at 48. That's not unstable. That's exceptional. The two men stared at each other. Dawson at 56 with silver hair and naval intelligence credentials. Cross at 69 with scars from Grenada and Panama and Desert Storm in places that didn't make it into official reports. Different generations, different wars, same training in how to read an enemy. Hollis is removed from the BUDS program, Dawson said, reassigned to administrative duties. Commander Cross, you're cleared of wrongdoing, but I'm recommending psychological evaluation, standard procedure after violent incidents. Understood, sir. We'll discuss this further at 1400. I've moved the meeting to CQB House 3, more privacy for sensitive topics. Sarah's face showed nothing. Yes, sir. Dismissed. They left, walked down the hallway in silence, waited until they were outside before speaking. He changed the location, Sarah said, just like you predicted. CQB House 3 is the most isolated facility on base. No cameras, no witnesses, officially listed as under maintenance for the next 6 hours. Catherine's evidence. Cross checked his phone, hit the Inspector General's office at 0800. They'll be reviewing it now, but it takes time. Bureaucracy. By the time they issue a warrant, Dawson will be long gone, or will be dead. Sarah's phone buzzed. Encrypted message from Catherine Cross. Evidence confirmed received. IG opening investigation. But Dawson has 6 hours minimum before they move. Be careful. Men like him don't surrender. Cross looked at his watch. The Rolex Submariner from 1985. Steel and black. The second hand swept around the dial with mechanical precision. Tick, tick, tick. I've been hunting Viper 6 for 34 years, he said, since Desert Storm. Since 4 of my teammates died in Kuwait because someone leaked our position. I'm not stopping now. He's going to try to kill us in that CQB house. I know. Then why are we walking into it? Cross smiled, grim. Because we need him to try. We need him to expose himself completely. Catherine's evidence proves financial crimes, radio intercepts, weapon sales, but it doesn't prove murder, doesn't prove he killed your father, doesn't prove he ordered the hit on you in Kandahar. So we need him to attack us, on camera. Catherine's already working on that. 1100 hours, secure video call, Catherine Cross on a laptop screen. 44 years old, Army intelligence major retired, sharp eyes, the kind of face that had interrogated terrorists and drug cartel leaders and corrupt government officials. The kind that had seen things that would break most people. She was in a secure facility somewhere. The background was deliberately nondescript. Gray walls, no identifying features. The evidence is good, Catherine said. 40 years of financial transactions. Shell companies traced to Balkan Exports Limited, Crimson Consultants, Black Sea Maritime. All registered between 1985 and 1991. All connected to Soviet KGB front operations. The screens showed documents, bank transfers, weapon serial numbers, shipping manifests. 1985 to 1989, Berlin. Dawson was naval intelligence liaison with West German military. He had access to Soviet defectors, to intelligence on weapons caches. When the wall fell in 1989, he knew exactly where the Soviets had hidden emergency stockpiles, tactical weapons, missiles, small arms, worth hundreds of millions on the black market. Cross leaned closer to the screen. Desert Storm, 1991. My team found Soviet weapons in an Iraqi depot, SA-7 Strela missiles, AK-74s, all manufactured in 1989, after the wall fell, after the USSR was supposedly cutting back. Dawson was already selling by then, using the chaos of the Gulf War to move inventory. Iraqi forces were his customers. He sold them weapons to use against us, then investigated why Soviet weapons kept showing up. Perfect cover. Sarah's voice was quiet, controlled. My father, Fallujah, 2006. Catherine's face softened, just slightly. Commander James Cross found a cache in Fallujah. Soviet weapons. Same pattern. He reported it through channels, started asking questions about why inventory that should have been destroyed in 1991 was still showing up 15 years later. And Dawson killed him. Made it look like a training accident. Equipment malfunctioned during a live fire exercise. I've got the original investigation files. Dawson was the lead investigator. He cleared himself. The screen showed more documents, autopsy reports, training schedules, equipment manifests, all of it pointing to one conclusion: murder disguised as accident. How many others? Sarah asked. 11 confirmed. All SEALs or special forces. All found Soviet weapons where they shouldn't be. All died within 6 months of reporting it. Training accidents. Combat deaths. One helicopter crash. One diving incident. All investigated by the same officer, Richard Dawson. Cross's hands were shaking. Barely perceptible, but Sarah saw it. 34 years of hunting. 34 years of knowing that his teammates died because someone betrayed them. And now seeing the proof in black and white. The Inspector General will move on this, Cross asked. They're opening an investigation, but it takes time. Dawson has 6 hours minimum, maybe 12. He knows we have the evidence. He's going to run or fight. He'll fight, Sarah said. Too much ego, too many years invested. He won't walk away. Catherine nodded. Then you need to be ready, because the CQB house is a kill box, and he's had all morning to prepare it. Cross checked his phone. We've got 3 hours until the meeting. I'm working on getting you surveillance access, Catherine said. But Dawson's blocked my credentials. I can't get eyes inside the facility. Then we go in blind. Dad, Catherine's voice changed. Not Major Cross, retired Army intelligence. Just a daughter talking to her father. Don't do this. Let the IG handle it. You don't need to be a hero. I'm 69 years old, heart damage from shrapnel in 91. I won't live to 75 anyway. But your generation, Sarah's generation, they deserve the truth. They deserve justice. I need you alive. You need the mission completed. That's what matters. The call ended. Cross and Sarah sat in silence. The weight of 34 years pressing down like deep water. 1,200 hours, unexpected visitor. Derek Hollis appeared at Sarah's temporary office, wrist in a cast, face pale, eyes red like he'd been crying or hadn't slept or both. Commander, I need to talk to you. They're going to kill me. Sarah's hand moved to the M18 pistol concealed under her jacket. Cross materialized in the doorway behind Hollis, also armed, also ready. Sit down, Corporal. Hollis collapsed into a chair. His good hand trembled. I was recruited 8 weeks ago. Guy approached me off base, said they needed someone to test you, make you react, make you look unstable. $5,000 for 2 months of work. Who recruited you? Webb, Petty Officer Webb. He said it was authorized, some kind of psychological evaluation. I thought it was legitimate. Cross moved into the room, closed the door, locked it. What happened after the pool incident? Webb contacted me this morning, said phase 2, said I need to escalate or my family pays. Your family? Hollis pulled out his phone, showed them text messages, threats, photos of his father's house, his mother's car, his sister's school. My dad, Gunnery Sergeant Tom Hollis, retired. He served under Dawson in Desert Storm. He's been taking consulting fees from Dawson for 20 years. Webb has records, proof of illegal payments, tax evasion. Says my dad goes to Leavenworth for 10 years unless I finish the job. What job? Hollis showed them another text. Phase 2, isolate Cross, training accident, today, 1400, CQB House 3. Sarah and Cross exchanged looks. They're going to kill Master Chief Cross, Hollis said. Make it look like equipment failure. You'll both be inside. Webb's setting it up now. He brought a duffel bag to the facility at 1100. Security logged it as training equipment, but I saw him. It wasn't equipment. What was it? Explosives or live ammunition, something to make sure you don't walk out. Cross sat down across from Hollis. His voice was gentle, the way you talk to someone who's terrified. The Russian tattoo on your wrist. My mother's Russian, emigrated in 1993 after the Soviet Union fell. Her brother was Spetsnaz. I got the tattoo to honor him. Webb knew about my family background, said it made me useful. I didn't understand what he meant. You understand now. I think I've been working for a Russian asset, or someone selling Soviet weapons, or something worse than I can even imagine. Sarah's voice cut through. What do you want, Corporal? I want my family safe. I want immunity for my father. And I want to help you stop whatever this is. Cross studied him, looking for deception, for angles, for the kind of manipulation that someone trained in intelligence operations would use. But all he saw was a 28-year-old kid who'd gotten in over his head and was drowning. Call your family. Tell them to leave their houses, hotels, different locations. Don't tell anyone where they're going. Will that keep them safe? Safer than staying home. Dawson doesn't have infinite resources. He can't track everyone simultaneously. Hollis made the calls, hands shaking, voice breaking. Sarah watched him and saw herself at 28. Young, arrogant, thinking she understood how the world worked, learning that she didn't. What do you need me to do? Hollis asked after the calls. Tell Webb you told us nothing. Go along with phase 2. We need Dawson to think his plan is working. You're still going to the meeting. We're walking into that XCQB house, and we're ready. Hollis left. Cross and Sarah waited 30 seconds. Then Cross spoke. He's telling the truth. I've interrogated enough people to know. He's a kid who got used. Same thing they tried to do to me. Make me react violently, build a case for instability, then eliminate me when psychological discharge doesn't work. Your father, same pattern. Everyone who found Dawson's Soviet weapons, same pattern. 40 years, 11 deaths. Cross-checked his watch. 1,300 hours. 1 hour until the meeting. Catherine's working on something. I can feel it. She's got a plan. What plan? She's my daughter. She thinks like me. And I taught her that sometimes the best way to win is to lose exactly the way the enemy expects. I don't understand. Cross smiled. Grim. You will. 13:45. 15 minutes before the meeting. Sarah and Cross walked across the base towards CQB House 3. The sun was high and cold, November in Virginia. The kind of day where everything looks sharp and clear and unforgiving. The close-quarter battle training facility was on the eastern edge of the base, 5 buildings designed to simulate urban combat. House 3 was the most realistic. 2 stories, multiple rooms, furniture, doors, windows, everything you'd find in a real residential building in Baghdad or Kandahar or any of the places where SEALs hunted terrorists. Webb was waiting outside, tablet in hand, professional smile. Commander, Master Chief, Captain Dawson is inside. He asked me to set up recording equipment for the debrief. Wanted everything documented. Documented, Cross said. That's interesting word choice. Webb's smile didn't change. Standard procedure for formal inquiries, sir. They entered. The interior smelled like dust and gun oil and the particular staleness of a building that's only used for training. Fluorescent lights overhead, concrete floors, plywood walls designed to stop training ammunition but not real rounds. Dawson stood in the main room. Gray tactical pants, black polo shirt, not his usual uniform, combat casual, the kind of clothes you wear when you need to move fast. Commander Cross, Master Chief, thank you for coming. Sarah noticed the exits, 2 doors, windows on the 2nd floor, stairwell in the back, Webb positioning himself near the main entrance, blocking escape route. Let's discuss Catherine's accusations, Dawson said. Soviet weapons, 40 years of sales. It's an interesting theory, creative but ultimately unprovable. The financial records prove it, Sarah said. Financial records prove money moved through shell companies. They don't prove I controlled those companies. They don't prove anything illegal. Cross moved slowly toward the stairwell. Casual, not threatening, just repositioning. The radio intercepts. Viper 6 call sign, used in Desert Storm, used in Kandahar. Same voice pattern, same syntax. Voice analysis matches you. Voice analysis isn't admissible in court, and Viper 6 could be anyone. Could be a Russian asset, could be Taliban intelligence, could be fictional. My father, Sarah said, Commander James Cross, Fallujah, 2006. Tragic training accident. I investigated it myself. Equipment malfunction. No foul play. You investigate your own crime. Dawson's smile was cold, professional. You're making serious accusations without proof. The Inspector General will review Catherine's evidence. They'll find what I've always known. There's nothing there. Just conspiracy theories from a damaged SEAL with 67% lung capacity and a civilian contractor chasing ghosts. Cross's voice was quiet, deadly. You left me and 4 men to die in Kuwait, February 1991. You leaked our position to Iraqi forces. They ambushed us with weapons. You sold them. I survived. They didn't. I've spent 34 years hunting you, and now I've got you. You've got nothing. Webb moved, hand going to his sidearm, M18 Sig Sauer, not training weapon, live ammunition. Cross saw it, moved faster than a 69-year-old man should be able to move. Grenada-era close combat tactics. Grabbed Webb's wrist, twisted. The pistol clattered to the concrete. Sarah engaged Dawson. He was trained, dangerous. Naval intelligence background meant hand-to-hand combat courses. Krav Maga, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the modern stuff. But Sarah had been taught by Cross, by her father. Old-school techniques that had been perfected in wars before Dawson was born. Cross disabled Webb with a joint lock. Shoulder manipulation, the kind that leaves you on the ground unable to move your arm. But then Cross's face went pale, hand to chest, breath short. Dad, Sarah's attention split. Fatal mistake. Dawson exploited it, grabbed her from behind, arm around her throat, not a choke, just control. Master Chief, stop, or I crush her windpipe. Cross froze, hand still pressed to his chest. Sarah could see it now, the shrapnel scar tissue around his heart, the damage from 1991 that had been slowly killing him for 34 years. The stress, the adrenaline, his heart couldn't take it. The door burst open. Base security, 4 armed military police, led by Lieutenant Commander Hayes, Dawson's executive officer. Captain Dawson, we have a situation. Inspector General investigators are on base. They want Master Chief Cross and Commander Cross for questioning about allegations of breaking into classified files. Sarah felt Dawson's grip tighten, then release. Professional again. In control. Commander Cross, Master Chief Cross, you're under arrest. Charges unauthorized access to classified material, conspiracy to make false accusations against a superior officer, assault on Petty Officer Webb. Hayes produced restraints. Sarah didn't resist. Neither did Cross. Webb stood up, rubbed his shoulder, smiled. Captain, they attacked me without provocation. I was just setting up recording equipment. The security footage would prove otherwise, except Dawson controlled the security footage, controlled the narrative, controlled everything. Sarah and Cross were handcuffed, led out of the CQB house, across the base, to the detention facility. Dawson walked beside them, voice low, only they could hear. Catherine's evidence, the fruit of the poison tree, illegally obtained, inadmissible. The Inspector General will question you about how you accessed classified files. You'll either admit to crimes or refuse to answer. Either way, you're finished. Cross whispered back, you think you won. That's your first mistake. I've been winning for 40 years, Master Chief. You're just the latest in a long line of people who thought they could stop me. They reached the detention facility, separate cells, Sarah in one, Cross next door. They could talk through the wall but couldn't see each other. 1,600 hours. The cells were cold, concrete and steel, the kind of place designed to break people psychologically before any physical interrogation starts. Cross's breathing was labored. Sarah could hear it through the wall. Master Chief, you okay? Heart's not great, shrapnel near the left ventricle. Been there since 91, acts up when I get stressed. I'll call for medical. Don't, they won't come. Dawson's orders, medical delay, make it look like I'm refusing treatment. Make my eventual heart attack look natural. Sarah pounded on her cell door. Medic man down, medic, no response. Cross's voice came through the wall, weaker now. Sarah, listen, you need to understand something. This was always the plan. What plan, Catherine and I? We knew Dawson wouldn't let us expose him, knew he'd try to kill us or discredit us or both. So we built a failsafe. What failsafe? My watch, the Rolex, it's not just a watch, it's a biometric monitor. Tracks my heart rate, transmits to Catherine's servers. If my heart stops, the evidence uploads automatically. Not to the Inspector General, to 5 locations simultaneously. DOD, Pentagon, Washington Post, 5 senators on the Armed Services Committee. Everything. 40 years of proof. Can't be stopped. Can't be recalled. Sarah's hands gripped the bars of her cell. No, you're not dying for this. I'm 69. Heart damage. Won't make 70 anyway. But you're 32. You've got time. Your father died at 46. I won't let his death mean nothing. I won't let you do this. You don't get a choice. This is my mission. My terms. I'm ordering you. Complete the mission. Honor your father. Honor me. Cross's breathing got worse. Shallow. Irregular. Everything I taught you. Breath control, patience, calculation. Your father taught you honor. Catherine taught you investigation. Now combine them. Finish what 3 generations started. How do I do this without you? Same way I did it without your father. Same way Catherine will do it without me. The mission continues. That's what SEALs do. We don't die. We reposition. 2100 hours. Cross's breathing was barely audible. Sarah, it's time. Don't call for help. Let it happen. That's an order. I can't. You can. Because I'm ordering you to complete the mission. Dawson has to believe he won. Has to believe killing me silences the truth. That's when he'll get careless. That's when you strike. 2147. Cross went silent. Sarah screamed for the medic. Pounded on the cell door. They came. Too late. By design. Master Chief Daniel Cross. Dead at 69. Time of death, 2151 hours. Dawson arrived at the detention facility. Looked at Cross's body being removed. Looked at Sarah in her cell. Face wet with tears. Natural causes. Stress-induced cardiac arrest. Tragic. He was 69, combat veteran. Pre-existing heart condition. These things happen. He leaned close to Sarah's cell. You'll be released tomorrow. All charges dropped. Insufficient evidence. But here's what you're going to do. You're going to honor his memory. Stay quiet. Move on with your life. Because if you keep pushing, you'll end up like him. And unlike him, you won't get a flag on your coffin. Sarah's voice was hollow. I'll honor him. My way. Dawson smiled, turned to leave. 2152. Cross's Rolex still on his wrist in the body bag, registered complete cardiac arrest. Biometric monitor flatline. Automatic upload initiated. 847 pages of evidence. Financial records, radio intercepts, weapon serial numbers, shipping manifests, autopsy reports, investigation files, 40 years of proof, simultaneous transmission to 5 locations, DOD Inspector General Office, encrypted package with authentication codes, Pentagon Office of the Secretary of Defense, full case file with supporting documentation, Washington Post investigative team, complete archive with verifiable sources, Senator Elizabeth Hartman, Armed Services Committee, classified briefing with national security implications, Senator Robert Mitchell, intelligence oversight, full intelligence assessment with foreign involvement details, all timestamped 2152 hours, November 15, 2025. Dawson's phone buzzed. He checked it, stopped walking, went rigid. Text message from an unknown number. Evidence released. NCIS en route. Arrest warrant issued. You have 30 minutes. Run or stay. Either way, you're finished. He turned. Looked back at Sarah's cell. She was standing now. Tears gone. Face composed. Looking at him through the bars with eyes that calculated instead of mourned. Your mentor just committed suicide for nothing, Dawson said. Sarah's voice was steady, calm. The voice of someone who'd been choked for 48 seconds and waited to strike. He didn't commit suicide. He completed his mission. And now you have 30 minutes before NCIS arrives. Run or stay, Captain. Either way, Master Chief Cross wins. Dawson's face went from confident to confused to enraged in 3 seconds. He ran 2,200 hours. Sarah was released from her cell. All charges dropped. Master Chief Cross's body was being transported to the morgue. Official cause of death, natural causes. Stress-induced cardiac arrest. No autopsy required. Catherine Cross was waiting outside the detention facility. Army credentials, military police escort. She was now the lead investigator. She embraced Sarah, held her. For just a moment, two women who'd lost the same man were just daughter and student grieving together. He planned this 6 months ago, Catherine said. Wrote me a letter, told me if his heart gave out, don't mourn. Hunt. She showed Sarah the letter. Cross's handwriting, dated May 2024. Sarah, if you are reading this, I'm gone. Hart gave out or Dawson got me. Either way, the mission continues. Catherine has the evidence. You have the training. Finish it. Honor your father. Honor me. Don't mourn. Hunt. D.C. Sarah's hands shook holding the letter. NCIS issued arrest warrant for Dawson at 21:55, Catherine said. He fled the base at 21:58, 3 minutes. Webb was captured trying to delete server data. He's talking. Hollis is cooperating. His father got immunity. Where's Dawson going? Webb says private airfield, 40 miles west. Aircraft scheduled for 0200 departure. Destination Ukraine. No extradition treaty. What's he carrying? $2 million in cash. Classified documents. Evidence to blackmail DOD into leaving him alone. If he gets on that plane, he disappears forever. Sarah looked at the night sky. Cold. Clear. Stars sharp enough to cut. Then we stop him before he boards. Catherine pulled out a tactical tablet. Showed Dawson's location via GPS tracking. His vehicle heading west on Highway 64. 40 miles to the airfield. He had 1 hour. NCIS is coordinating, but their bureaucracy, they'll get there in time to secure the scene, not in time to catch him. So we go ourselves. Dad made me promise. If anything happened to him, I'd watch over you. Looks like we both keep promises. They moved to Catherine's vehicle. Tactical SUV, military issue. Loaded with equipment that Army intelligence wasn't supposed to have access to anymore. 4 junior SEALs volunteered, Catherine said. They respected Cross. Want to help finish his mission. Hollis, too. Wants redemption. Sarah checked her M18, 15 rounds, plus 2 spare magazines. Enough for what was coming. Master Chief Cross spent 34 years hunting Viper 6. Your father spent months investigating before Dawson killed him. I spent 14 months recovering and planning. We're not letting him fly away. Catherine started the engine. Then let's finish what 3 generations started. They drove into the night, 40 miles 1 hour, racing against a man who'd spent 40 years staying 1 step ahead of justice. But Master Chief Daniel Cross had taught them both the same lesson. SEALs don't panic. They calculate. They wait for exactly the right moment. Then they strike. The night was cold and clear and perfect for hunting. 22:30 hours, Highway 64 West. 2 vehicles racing through Virginia darkness. Dawson's black sedan ahead. Catherine's tactical SUV behind. 40 miles between Naval Special Warfare Center and on a private airfield where a Cessna Citation M2 jet waited with engines warming. Sarah sat in the passenger seat, M18 pistol in her lap, checking the magazine for the 3rd time. 15 rounds plus 2 spares. 45 rounds total. Enough to stop 1 man. Enough to end 40 years of treason. Catherine drove. Hands steady on the wheel, eyes on the road. Army intelligence training showing in every movement. Calm, professional, lethal when required. 4 junior SEALs in the vehicle behind them. All volunteers, all men who trained under Master Chief Cross at some point in their careers. All carrying the same lesson he'd taught. SEALs don't panic. They calculate. Derek Hollis was with them. Wrists still casted, face still pale but determined. Trying to earn back honor he'd lost by being Dawson's puppet. The GPS tracker showed Dawson's vehicle, 17 miles ahead, moving fast. 85 miles per hour on a highway designed for 65. Running scared, running desperate. Catherine's phone was mounted on the dashboard. Encrypted, communication line open. She was coordinating with NCIS, with DOD, with people whose names Sarah didn't need to know. NCIS is 20 minutes behind us, Catherine said. They'll secure the airfield. But Dawson will be airborne by then. We're the only ones who can stop him from boarding. Sarah stared at the darkness beyond the windshield, thought about her father, Commander James Cross, dead in Fallujah in 2006. 19 years ago, she'd been 13, young enough to believe the official story. Training accident, equipment malfunction, bad luck. Old enough to remember her father's face when he came home on leave, the way he'd looked at documents late at night, the phone calls he'd taken in private, the concern in his voice when he talked about weapons that shouldn't exist. Soviet weapons in Iraqi hands years after the Soviet Union collapsed. Master Chief Cross had known the truth, had spent 34 years hunting it, had died 3 hours ago to expose it, his heart giving out in a detention cell while Dawson thought he was winning. But Cross had won. The evidence was uploaded. NCIS had arrest warrants. DOD was mobilizing. The Washington Post was preparing stories that would destroy Dawson's reputation even if he somehow escaped prosecution. Cross had won by dying exactly when it mattered most. Sarah touched the compression sleeve on her left arm. The reminder of Kandahar, of the shrapnel that collapsed her lung, of the betrayal that nearly killed her and did kill the trust she'd had in the system. 67% lung capacity. Not enough for combat dive qualification. Not enough for active SEAL operations. Barely enough to function normally. But enough to finish this. Catherine's voice cut through the silence. Dawson's not alone. GPS shows 2 vehicles at the airfield. His sedan and another SUV, probably security. Probably armed. How many unknown? But assume hostile. Assume professional. Sarah checked her pistol again. Muscle memory. Training that wouldn't quit even when her body had limitations. Webb gave us Dawson's escape plan, Catherine continued. $2 million in cash, classified documents for leverage, flight plan to Ukraine via Canada, uses a shell company to own the aircraft. Same company that owns Balkan Exports Limited, the one that's been laundering Soviet weapon sales since 1987. Ukraine won't extradite, not if he has leverage, not if he can prove he worked with American intelligence for 40 years. He'll spin it. Make himself look like a patriot. Make us look like the criminals. Not if we stop him first. Not if we stop him at all. The miles disappeared beneath them. Darkness and asphalt and the white lines that marked the boundary between lanes. Sarah's heart rate was steady, controlled. The bradycardia she'd perfected underwater. The mammalian diving reflex that let her survive 48 seconds of being choked. She wasn't panicking. She was calculating. 23:15 hours. The airfield appeared in the distance. Small, private. The kind of place where wealthy people kept personal aircraft and no one asked questions about flight plans filed at midnight. One runway, one hangar, one small terminal building with lights showing through windows. 2 vehicles parked on the tarmac. Dawson's black sedan, a gray SUV with tinted windows. The Cessna Citation M2 sat on the runway. Engines running, navigation lights blinking, ready for immediate departure. Catherine killed the headlights, pulled off the highway onto an access road. The tactical SUV behind them followed, both vehicles approaching. Dark, silent, professional. NCIS is 15 minutes out, Catherine said. We need to delay Dawson until they arrive. Not engage unless absolutely necessary. Sarah chambered around. He killed my father. He killed Master Chief Cross. He killed 11 SEALs over 40 years. I'm engaging. Sarah, this isn't revenge. This is justice. It's both. They stopped 300 meters from the terminal, deployed on foot. Sarah, Catherine, 4 SEALs. Hollis bringing up the rear. All armed, all moving with tactical precision through darkness. The gray SUV's doors opened. 4 men emerged. Not military, private security, contractors. The kind you hire when you need people who follow orders without asking questions. All carrying weapons, all scanning the perimeter. Dawson exited his sedan, briefcase in one hand, overnight bag in the other, moving toward the aircraft with purpose, with confidence, like a man who'd escaped consequences for 40 years and saw no reason tonight would be different. Sarah raised her M18, Center mass shot, 300 meters. Too far for a pistol. She'd need to get closer. Catherine touched her arm. Wait, let him think he's safe. Let him board. Then we take him on the aircraft. Harder for him to run, easier for us to control. He gets on that plane, he's gone. The pilot's one of ours, NCIS asset. Dawson doesn't know it yet. Sarah lowered her weapon. You've been planning this. Dad and I started planning 6 months ago, when we knew Dawson would eventually run. We prepared for every contingency. Dawson reached the aircraft, climbed the stairs, turned at the top, looked back at the terminal, at his security team, at the life he was leaving behind. For just a moment, Sarah saw his face in the aircraft lights. 56 years old, silver hair, the face of a man who'd served his country for 40 years, who'd been naval intelligence in Berlin when the Cold War was still cold, who'd watched the wall fall and seen opportunity where others saw peace. Then he disappeared inside the aircraft. Catherine keyed her radio. Now, NCIS, you're clear to move. Pilot, do not take off. Repeat, do not take off. The pilot's voice came back, calm, professional. Copy. Aircraft disabled, engines running but hydraulics locked. He's not going anywhere. The security team realized something was wrong. One of them ran toward the aircraft. The others took defensive positions. Weapons raised, scanning for threats. Catherine's team moved. 4 SEALs engaging 4 contractors. Professional versus professional. Training versus paycheck. The outcome was never in doubt. 40 seconds later, all 4 contractors were on the ground. Disarmed, restrained, not dead. SEALs don't kill unless necessary, but thoroughly neutralized. Sarah and Catherine approached the aircraft. Weapons raised, moving in tactical formation. Dawson appeared at the aircraft door, saw his security team down, saw Sarah and Catherine approaching, pulling a Sig Sauer M18 from his briefcase. Stay back, I'll shoot the pilot. The pilot appeared behind him, hands raised. But the pilot was NCIS, trained, ready, just waiting for the right moment. Sarah stopped at the base of the stairs. Captain Dawson, it's over. NCIS is 3 minutes out. Your security team is down. The aircraft is disabled. You have nowhere to go. I have classified documents, proof that DoD authorized my operations, proof that I was working within sanctioned parameters. I'm not a traitor. I'm a patriot who did what was necessary when politicians were too weak to act. You killed 11 American service members. That's not patriotism. That's murder. Dawson's gun wavered. Not much, just enough to show he was losing control. They were casualties of war, acceptable losses in the larger mission. My father wasn't an acceptable loss. Your father was investigating activities beyond his clearance level. He wouldn't stop asking questions. I gave him chances, multiple chances. He made his choice. Catherine stepped forward. I'm Major Catherine Cross, Army Intelligence. Master Chief Daniel Cross was my father. You killed him 3 hours ago. He died of natural causes, heart failure. Tragic, but you orchestrated his death, created conditions that would trigger his heart condition, let him die in a cell without medical attention. That's premeditated murder. Dawson's face hardened. You can't prove that. I don't need to prove it. The evidence speaks. 40 years of weapon sales, 11 murders, financial records showing $187 million in illegal transactions. Radio intercepts with your voice using the Viper 6 call sign. It's over, Captain. I served my country for 40 years. You served yourself. Dawson's hand tightened on his pistol. Sarah saw it, saw the micro-expressions that preceded violent action, saw him making the calculation. 1 shot, kill Catherine, use the pilot as a shield, try to escape in the chaos. She moved first, up the stairs, 3 steps. Close the distance before Dawson could acquire a target. Use the same technique she'd used on Hollis in the pool. Joint manipulation. Precise. Surgical. Disarmed him without firing a shot. The M18 clattered down the aircraft stairs. Dawson stood frozen, arm twisted behind his back. Sarah's pistol pressed against his spine. The pilot stepped away, pulled his own weapon. NCIS credentials visible now. Captain Richard Dawson, you're under arrest. Treason, conspiracy, arms trafficking, 11 counts of first-degree murder, additional charges pending. Dawson's voice was quiet, defeated. You'll never stop the network. It's bigger than me. Berlin was just the beginning. There are others. Sarah leaned close, whispered in his ear, I don't need to stop them all. I just need to honor those who died trying. Master Chief Cross, my father, the 11 others you killed, that's the mission. And you think you've completed it. Master Chief taught me 3 things. Pressure reveals character. Control defines survival. SEALs don't retire. We reposition. She pulled him down the stairs. NCIS vehicles were arriving. Lights, sirens, armed agents swarming the airfield. Dawson was transferred to their custody. Handcuffed, read his rights, placed in a vehicle. Before they closed the door, he looked at Sarah one last time. Your father died for nothing. Cross died for nothing. You'll see. The system protects its own. Sarah's voice was steady, calm. We'll see. The vehicle drove away, carrying a man who'd spent 40 years believing he was untouchable, learning that everyone breaks eventually. Catherine stood beside Sarah, watched the taillights disappear. Dad would be proud. Your father gave his life for this. My father too. 11 others. I hope it was worth it. It was. Every name cleared, every family given truth, every operator who serves after this knowing the system has accountability. That's worth it. The night was cold. The stars were sharp. The mission was complete. But the grief was just beginning. 3 months later, February 2025, Arlington National Cemetery. Winter sun weak through bare trees. Ground frozen hard enough to make the gravediggers work for every inch. Rows of white headstones stretching toward the horizon. The accumulated weight of American sacrifice made visible in marble. Section 60, where the recent fallen rest. Afghanistan, the long war against terror. Master Chief Daniel Cross had earned a place here. 27 years of active service. Grenada, Panama, Desert Storm, Somalia, Bosnia. Operations whose names were still classified. A lifetime of serving in shadows. 200 attendees. SEALs from 4 decades. Men who'd trained under Cross. Men who'd served with him. Men who'd learned from him that breath control isn't about lungs. It's about mind. Sarah stood in dress blues. Lieutenant Commander rank insignia sharp and correct. Compression sleeve hidden under the uniform. The visible wounds covered. The invisible ones still healing. Catherine stood beside him. Army uniform. Major's rank. The daughter who'd spent 6 years hunting her father's killer. Who'd finally succeeded 3 months too late to save him. The honor guard was perfect. 7 SEALs in dress whites. Rifles held at attention. The casket draped an American flag. 50 stars, 13 stripes, the symbol that meant something more than cloth to men who'd bled for it. The chaplain spoke about service, about sacrifice, about faith, but the words felt hollow. Daniel Cross hadn't died for faith. He died for mission, for evidence, for the calculated sacrifice that would finally expose Viper 6. Sarah stepped forward to deliver the eulogy. The crowd went silent. 200 men who'd seen combat, who'd faced death, who'd learned to control fear, all waiting to hear what she'd say about their Master Chief. Master Chief Daniel Cross served 27 years active duty, Grenada 1983, Panama 1989, Desert Storm 1991, Somalia 1993, Bosnia 95. He was there when SEALs wore steel watches, not smart watches. When missions had clear objectives and politicians stayed out of the way, when warriors were allowed to be warriors. The older SEALs nodded, remembering. He taught 3 lessons. First, pressure reveals character. When everything goes wrong, who you really are shows. Second, control defines survival. Panic kills, calculation saves. Third, SEALs don't retire. We reposition. The mission continues through those we train. Sarah's voice caught, just slightly. Professional composure cracking at the edges. Master Chief Cross repositioned from this life 3 months ago. His heart gave out, but not before he completed his final mission, exposing a traitor who'd operated for 40 years, bringing justice to 11 murdered SEALs, giving their families truth. She looked at the casket, at the flag, at the symbol of everything Cross had believed in. He trained 10847 naval special warfare operators over his career. Each one learned his lessons. Each one carries his legacy forward. He didn't die, he repositioned. And the mission continues. The honor guard raised their rifles. 7 men, 3 volleys, 21 shots splitting the cold air. The traditional salute, the warrior's farewell. Taps played, the loneliest sound in the world. A bugler standing alone among the gravestones. Notes carrying across the frozen ground. The final goodbye to a man who'd given everything. The flag was folded, 13 folds, each one precise. Perfect. The honor guard commander presented it to Catherine. She accepted it, held it against her chest, eyes dry but devastated. Sarah placed her hand on the casket, cold metal under her palm. Whispered words only she and Cross would ever know. Mission complete, Master Chief. Justice served. Legacy preserved. The burial detail lowered the casket into frozen earth, into final rest. The crowd dispersed slowly, old warriors lingering, sharing stories, remembering a man who had been legend. An older SEAL approached Sarah, 65, 1980s era, face carved with decades of sun and salt water. Cross saved my life in Panama, 1989. I was 24, pinned down in a kill box. He came back for me, didn't have to, could have left me, didn't even hesitate. Another SEAL joined them, 50-something, Desert Storm veteran. He taught me to breathe when I thought I was drowning. Bud's hell week. I was ready to quit. He told me SEALs don't panic, we calculate. I made it because of him. The stories continued. 200 men, 200 connections to one Master Chief who touched lives by teaching control in chaos. Catherine and Sarah stood together after everyone left. Just 2 women at a grave in Arlington. The daughter and the student. The legacy holders. What do we do now? Catherine asked. We keep the mission alive. Your father taught us how. My father showed us why. Now we teach others. You're staying in the Navy. I'm becoming an instructor, head of combat dive school. Same program where Cross trained me. Full circle. Catherine nodded. I'm joining NCIS, Counter-Proliferation Division, continuing Dad's work, hunting the rest of Dawson's network. There's more network. Always, Berlin wasn't the only city. Soviet weapons weren't the only cache. This fight doesn't end, but we're ready for it. They stood in silence, watching the sun set over Arlington, over the accumulated sacrifice of generations, over the markers that represented more than death, that represented mission. Purpose, legacy, March 2025. Naval Station Norfolk. Military courtroom, formal and severe. Wood paneling, the American flag, the scales of justice carved into the judge's bench. Captain Richard Dawson stood at attention, civilian clothes. His uniform privileges revoked, rank insignia stripped. The man who'd been naval intelligence for 40 years reduced to defendant. The charges were read: treason, conspiracy, arms trafficking, 11 counts of first-degree murder. Additional charges including espionage, obstruction of justice, theft of government property. The list took 4 minutes to read completely. The evidence was overwhelming. Catherine's financial forensics, radio intercepts with voice pattern analysis, Webb's testimony, Hollis's cooperation, weapon serial numbers traced to Soviet stockpiles, shipping manifests showing illegal transfers, 40 years of documentation. Sarah testified, described her father's death in Fallujah, described the Kandahar ambush, described Master Chief Cross's investigation and ultimate sacrifice. Her voice was steady, professional. The way Cross had taught her, cross-examination tried to break her, tried to paint her as emotional, vengeful, unreliable due to lung injury and psychological trauma. She remained calm, answered every question precisely, never wavered. Commander Cross, the defense attorney said, you have 67% lung capacity. You've been on limited duty for 14 months. You have motive to fabricate evidence against Captain Dawson. Isn't it possible you're simply seeking someone to blame for your own failures? Sarah's response was quiet, controlled. I don't need someone to blame. I need justice for 11 murdered SEALs. The evidence speaks for itself. Catherine testified next, presented the financial records, explained the network, traced money from 1985 to 2025, showed how Dawson had built an empire on Soviet weapons and American blood. Webb testified, described his role, explained how Dawson had recruited him after Afghanistan, how the promise of money had seemed reasonable at first, how he'd rationalized it, how he'd finally broken when Cross died. I thought I was working for American interests, Webb said. Captain Dawson told me we were liquidating Soviet assets before they fell into terrorist hands. I believed him. I was wrong. Hollis testified, described his recruitment, his family's threats, his eventual cooperation. I thought I was being patriotic, testing a damaged officer to protect the teams. I was being used to destroy someone who threatened a traitor. The trial lasted 3 weeks. The verdict took 4 hours of deliberation. Guilty on all counts. The judge was a Navy captain, combat veteran, silver hair, stern face, the kind who'd seen enough war to understand the weight of judgment. Captain Richard Dawson, this court finds you guilty of treason against the United States, guilty of 11 counts of first-degree murder of American service members, guilty of arms trafficking, guilty of conspiracy, guilty of espionage. Dawson stood rigid, face impassive. The 40 years of intelligence training holding even now. You sold weapons to our enemies, killed our warriors to cover your crimes, betrayed every oath you ever took. This court sentences you to life imprisonment without possibility of parole, dishonorable discharge, forfeiture of all military benefits and honors. You will be remanded to the United States Disciplinary Barracks at Fort Leavenworth. Dawson was led away. He looked at Sarah one final time. History will vindicate me. The Cold War never ended. I did what was necessary. Sarah's response was quiet. History will remember you as a traitor. The network was dismantled over the following months. 8 additional arrests. International cooperation. Weapon caches secured in 11 countries. $187 million recovered and returned to the United States Treasury. The largest counter-proliferation operation in decades. Hayes, Phillips, Morrison. The other officers Dawson had recruited, all convicted, all sentenced, all stripped of honor. The network that had operated for 40 years destroyed in 6 months. The 11 murdered SEALs were honored. Posthumous clearance, official acknowledgement of their service and sacrifice. Their families received benefits, recognition, the truth they'd been denied for years. Commander James Cross, cleared of training accident designation, recognized as fallen in the line of duty investigating treason. Sarah's father's name added to the memorial wall at Naval Special Warfare Center. His sacrifice finally acknowledged. Master Chief Daniel Cross, full military honors, memorial plaque installed at the training pool. His lessons encoded in official SEAL training curriculum. His legacy preserved in every operator who learned breath control and calculation. Justice served, not perfectly, not completely, but real enough to matter. June 2025, Virginia Beach, Naval Special Warfare Training Center, the same facility where Sarah had been harassed, where Hollis had choked her for 48 seconds, where Cross had taught her that SEALs don't panic. Sarah's new office overlooked the training pool, head instructor combat dive school, the position Cross had held as civilian contractor. Now Sarah's responsibility. Cross's photograph hung on the wall. Master Chief uniform. Rolex Submariner visible on his wrist. The stern face that had trained generations. Beside it, a shadow box. The Rolex itself, steel and black. Stopped at 2151. The moment Cross's heart had stopped. The moment the evidence had uploaded. The moment 40 years of hunting had culminated in victory. Below the shadow box, a plaque. Master Chief Daniel Cross, 1956-2025, Navy SEAL, Grenada, Panama, Desert Storm, Somalia, Bosnia. He taught us to breathe. Pressure reveals character. Control defines survival. SEALs don't retire. We reposition. First day of the new training cycle. 30 recruits, young faces, eager, nervous. The same mix of confidence and fear that every Bud's class brought. Sarah addressed them from the pool deck. Black instructor uniform, compression sleeve visible, no hiding the damage, no pretending to be something she wasn't. I'm Commander Cross. I'll teach you to survive underwater. Not because you're strong, because you're disciplined. The recruits stared. Some recognized her name. Some knew the story. The SEAL who'd been choked for 48 seconds and broken her attacker's wrist. The one who'd exposed Viper 6. The one with 67% lung capacity who'd outlasted everyone who said she was finished. 3 things you'll learn here. First, pressure reveals character. When everything goes wrong, who you really are shows. Second, control defines survival. Panic kills. Calculation saves. Third, SEALs don't retire. We reposition. The mission continues through those we train. She walked to the edge of the pool, the same pool where it had all happened. Blue LED strips pulsing beneath the surface. Medical monitors on the deck. Everything the same, everything different. Demonstration, watch carefully. Sarah entered the water, let herself sink. The LED lights surrounded her, blue and cold and familiar. She went perfectly still, the way Cross had taught her, the way her father had taught her before that, the way generations of SEALs had learned. The monitor showed her heart rate, 72, then 68, then 58, bradycardia, the mammalian diving reflex, ancient survival mechanism perfected through training, 42 beats per minute, 90 seconds underwater. Not fighting, not struggling, just calculating, just breathing with lungs that would never be fully functional again. But functional enough, she surfaced. Calm, controlled, took one measured breath. The recruits stared, awed, intimidated, inspired. A young woman raised her hand, 22 years old, fresh from boot camp. Ma'am, is it true someone choked you for 48 seconds? Sarah looked at her, saw herself at that age, young, certain, unbroken by combat or betrayal or loss. Yes. How did you not panic? Master Chief Cross taught me, SEALs don't panic. We calculate. Every moment of fear is a moment to think, to plan, to prepare your response. The attacker was panicking. I was calculating. At second 48, I had all the information I needed. Then I struck. She showed them the technique, the joint manipulation, the precision. The way force applied correctly can disable someone twice your size. The way training beats strength. The way calculation beats panic. You'll learn this, but more importantly, you will learn when to use it. SEALs don't fight unless necessary, but when necessary, we fight to win. Catherine watched from the observation gallery, Army uniform, NCIS credentials. She visited once a week, checking on Sarah, continuing her father's legacy through counter-proliferation work. Hollis was there too, instructor in training, working to earn back respect, to prove that one mistake doesn't define a life, that redemption is possible through service. The training continued through the day. Breath holds, underwater navigation, emergency procedures, the technical skills that kept SEALs alive in hostile environments. But between the drills, Sarah taught the real lessons, the ones Cross had taught her, the ones her father had taught her before that. Your lungs will fail, your strength will fail, your equipment will fail, but your mind, if properly trained, will carry you through. That's what Master Chief Cross believed. That's what I'm teaching you. Evening, the pool was empty, recruits dismissed, equipment secured. Sarah sat alone at the water's edge, Cross's watch on her wrist, the inscription visible in the fading light. DC for Sarah, breathe, 2024. He'd given it to Catherine with instructions. Give it to Sarah after I'm gone. Tell her the mission continues. Sarah stared at the water, at the blue LED lights pulsing beneath the surface, at the place where she'd been choked and calculated and proven everyone wrong who said she was finished. Her phone buzzed. Message from Catherine. Found another network. Soviet weapons in Syria. Needs investigation. Interested, Sarah typed back. Always. Because SEALs don't retire. They reposition. The sun set over Virginia Beach, over the training facility where generations had learned to be warriors. over the pool where 48 seconds had changed everything. Sarah descended into the water one final time, alone. No monitors, no audience, just her and the cold and the memory of everyone who'd taught her to survive. She went still, let the bradycardia take over, let her heart rate drop, let the mammalian diving reflex conserve oxygen. The damaged lung held at 67%. Would never be better, would always be limitation. But limitations don't define you. Response to limitations does. 90 seconds, 120 seconds. She surfaced, breathing controlled, alive, functional, ready for whatever came next. A voice echoed in her memory, Cross's voice, teaching her at 20, training her, shaping her. Sarah, pressure reveals character. You've got character. Now learn control, then teach others. That's the mission. That's legacy. That's what makes us SEALs. She climbed from the pool, dried off, looked at the memorial plaque one final time. Mission continues, Master Chief. Like you taught me. We don't retire. We reposition. The lights in the facility went dark, one by one, until only the pool remained. Blue LED strips pulsing in the darkness. Rhythmic, patient, eternal. The same way water always moves. The same way missions always continue. The same way SEALs always reposition. Breathing under pressure, calculating instead of panicking, surviving because someone taught you how. That's legacy. That's honor. That's what 48 seconds of patience and 40 years of hunting and 3 generations of sacrifice had finally achieved. Justice, truth, legacy, and the mission continues. Always.